This slideshow covers a book that is titled Engaging Students with Poverty in Mind, Practical Strategies for Raising Achievement. This book was written by Eric Jensen, Jensen, and the beginning of the preface gives a little bit of a background on him and the things that he went through as a child, as a teenager, and in his opinion says, this is why I'm an expert in this area, and this is what you, the teacher, you, the educator, can do to help these students, because one day I was one of these students. The boy's first memory was standing in the living room of his house at age 2. Tears streamed down his cheeks. His mother sheepishly walked out the front door. It was the day the divorce went through. 4 tumultuous years later, his father remarried for the second of 4 times. The first of the boy's 3 stepmothers was alcoholic and abusive. Both of his older sisters quickly moved out of the house, one to live with neighbors and the other to live in the garage. At home, the young boy often ate dog food for snacks between meals because he was locked out of the house. From 2nd through 10th grade, he was terrorized by his violent stepmother. Blood and broken glass were commonplace in the house. Every time things got really bad, the father moved the boy and his sister to stay with relatives. Then the boy's stepmother would promise to be better, and the trio would move back. The boy lived with his grandmother, his aunt, his uncle, and then on his own. The cycle repeated itself every couple of years. School was a confusing and disconnected process. During those turbulent years, he went to 9 schools and had 153 teachers. The boy was never at school long enough to develop real friendships. He was often truant and frequently got sent to the office for discipline issues. In class, he usually sat in the back, troubled, disconnected from the content. Mostly, he thought about what was going to be like when he got home. For him, home was a war zone. Getting homework done was impossible in his environment. He had 0 parental support, and his only friends were troublemakers. His dad was gone most of the time, going to night school and often spending weekends working in the National Guard. His dad was also engaged in an affair, which made it even more friction and accusations at home. This is a true story of my own childhood. The upbringing was not of my choosing, so I accept neither credit nor blame. This is a brief edited piece of my life story. The reality was not nearly so G-rated. My point is this: don't judge someone by his or her skin color, ethnicity, or socioeconomic status. Just because I grew up white and middle class does not mean I don't understand the real world. I've been arrested twice and had 8 near-death experiences. I lived in a laundry room for 2 years and in a 15-foot trailer for 5 years. I've been kidnapped and held at gunpoint. I've been robbed. I've been a stowaway, and I've had to ride boxcars for over 1,000 miles to get home. I understand what it's like for a kid sitting in the back of the room who can't focus and spends the class worrying about what might happen when he goes home. I know what it's like to be hungry all the time. I was one of those kids. Teaching students who live in poverty. As I read the Eric Jensen points out 7 different engagement factors, the first being health and nutrition. But we're helping at Gulf Trace Elementary because we give students an opportunity to eat breakfast. So what can we teachers do? We can encourage them to eat the breakfast that's provided in the cafeteria. Here's what he says about it. Physical, mental, and emotional health support engagement and learning. Physical, mental, and emotional health support engagement and learning. Sadly, the lower a child's socioeconomic status is, the greater the health risks he or she faces. The lower parent's income is, the more likely it is the child will be born premature, low birth weight, or with disabilities. People that live in poverty are more likely to live in old, inadequately maintained homes with peeling paint and outdated plumbing, which increases their exposure to different types of lead. In addition, these students have an inadequate quantity of food. The quality is also an issue. Children who are raised in poor households typically eat low-cost, low-nutrition diet. These can have adverse effects on the brain. Poor nutrition poses a strong risk to students' learning and engagement. Number 2 is vocabulary. Factor number 2 is vocabulary. Child's vocabulary is part of their brain's toolkit for learning, the memory, and the cognition. Words help children represent, manipulate, and reframe information. Vocabulary differences among children in different socioeconomic status are staggering. Shocking. Toddlers from middle upper income families actually use more words when talking to their parents than low socioeconomic mothers use when they're talking to their children. What can we do as educators? We can use nonverbal communication, visual aids, context to aid meaning, and definitely vocabulary building. Factor number 3, but on the slide it's number 1 on the right side, is effort and energy. As teachers, we need to be aware of overgeneralizing. Sometimes teachers see students slouching in their chairs or they're inattentive to what is going on in the classroom, but teachers sometimes interpret the reasons behind the disengagement differently according to the student's socioeconomic status. Teachers may label a middle-income student as not reaching their potential and assume that a low-income student is simply lazy, or that they show little effort because their parents are lazy. Low socioeconomic students want the teaching to connect to their world. Teachers who cannot or will not connect personally to students are less likely, the student is less likely to trust them. Teachers need to make a connection to low socioeconomic students' culture in ways that help the students see a reason to play the academic game. When teachers remain ignorant to their students' culture, students often experience a demotivating disconnect between the school world and their home world. Factor number 4, number 2 on the right side, talks about the student's mindset. When it comes to school, mindset is crucial. It's a crucial attitude for the student and the teacher. We need to make sure that we continue as teachers to have high expectation. The teacher support is essential to academic success of low socioeconomic students, many of whom do not believe that they have the capacity to learn and grow. So a teacher's positive, growth-oriented mindset can help the student's negative mindset. Gradually, with teacher support, students will begin to believe in themselves and their capacity to reach their goals, which will increase their own learning success. The cognitive capacity, he talks about the IQ, and that the IQ can grow. It's not a stagnant score. Obviously, a lot of times the IQ in a low socioeconomic home is lower, but that is a generalization. Factor number 6, which is number 4 on the right side, is relationships. Research has shown that when teachers build relationships with their students, the student is more capable or will perform at a higher level. Children who grow up with positive relationships learn healthy, appropriate emotional responses to everyday situations. Children raised in poor households often fail to learn these responses because of absent or stressed caregivers. Developing the strong teacher-student relationship helps to counter the negative effects of these emotional responses. We can shift our own responses. Instead of disciplining students for poor emotional response, teach them how to respond in ways that will help keep them out of trouble. Instead of becoming upset, open our hearts and show students how to behave. Factor number 7 is stress level. Stress is can be defined as the body's response to a loss of control resulting from an adverse situation or an adverse person. The last factor is the stress level. Students from low socioeconomic homes come from can tend to have a high amount of stress in their lives. A child who comes from a stressful home tends to channel that stress into disruptive behavior, such as impulsive. Impulsivity is commonly misdiagnosed as ADHD, but it's actually an exaggerated response to stress that serves as a survival mechanism. Those most likely to survive are those who have the exaggerated stress response. Sometimes signs of aggressive and passive behaviors are actually the signs of stress. The remaining slides, 4 through 11, talk about the different rules for engagement, engage for a positive climate, engage to build cognitive capacity, engage for motivation and effort, engage for deep understanding, engage for energy and focus, how to automate engagement. Basically what Eric Jensen is saying is that if we, the teachers, engage our students, then the students, our low socioeconomic students, being engaged will help them learn. So the following slides talk about different ways that we can, as teachers, engage our students. Solutions that can be used to help engage students by upgrading our attitudes. We can use affirmations. We can employ occasional small engagers. When the kids are tired or have low amount of energy, their attitudes tend to stink too. Some activities that could keep the class moving, like standing or stretching, identifying something just by pointing, take a breath to be confident. Some of those things will help our students become more engaged. Build relationships and respect. A critical step in creating an engaging classroom is to build relationships and respect. Students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Some things that we can do. Maybe talk a little bit about ourselves, sharing about our families, about our dreams, our everyday life. Being respectful, even if we don't feel like it. In order to get some buy-in, for many of the students, school is an obligation, not a joy or a privilege. Sometimes we have to sell learning to them. When we step into the classroom of a high-performing teacher, several things usually jump out. First is the teacher is strongly committed to engaging students. There's a whatever-it-takes attitude. There's a passion. There's a commitment. There's failure is not an option. They're selling their students. Some things we can do. Lower the stakes. Let them use their imagination. To embrace clarity, to become extraordinary at engagement, we need to master the details that make up the big picture. The clarity of teachers' words and actions is strongly linked to student engagement. Use fewer words. Say what you want, what you do want from the students, not what you don't want. Instead of, I need your eyes up front, Eyes front, please. You'll need to know this later. Don't beg or plead, simply say what you want and why. Instead of, don't look out the window, watch this carefully. Here's why it's important. Give clear, simple directions. Use a quick hook. Tell them when they start the activity. When I say go, use as a trigger word. Directions one at a time. Constantly scan students' faces and body language for readiness. Number 5, show your passion. Probably the most powerful communication form. It's not enough to feel that teacher is your calling. You need to demonstrate passion so your students can feel it. Passion is a powerful classroom motivator. Be excited to come to work every day. Good teachers find ways to get more interested in what they are teaching and make things more interesting for their students. Ways to do this: stay active. Vary your voice purposefully. Keep your eyes focused on the students. Be positive. Now it's time to make the magic happen. Limit your lectures to short chunks, 5 to 8 minutes. Give students a little more control. Let them make some decision that leads them to feel more engaged. Make it their idea. Many kids feel like the world happens to them. The feeling of having some control is at least as important as actually having control. Provide choice. Let students run a classroom city, which is an educational product that helps students develop responsibility and thinking skills. Classroom jobs. Maybe make some of the students mentors. Try out some project learning. How about some self-assessment? Manage risk. Respect. It's all about respect. Role model. Volunteer to question. Encourage the students to question or have a comment daily. Encourage students to respond when called on. How about if they write a question? Action 3, build the learner's mind. Affirm the student's capacity. I know the assignment was a tough one, but you hung in there and you got it done. I like that you refused to give up. Listen, you're putting out an awesome effort And since that wasn't enough, let's review how you're going about it to see if we can tweak the strategy. I'm confident you'll succeed. Provide some feedback. Help students develop or use a rubric. Be clear and constructive. Like, I love the detail you put in your writing. Please add a bit more of your personal feelings in the details. Let me know what you got excited, scared, stressed, hopeful, or confused. That will help readers feel like they know you better. Adding 5 or 6 sentences sprinkled throughout your story would make it much stronger. Action 5, get a trial size effort. Ease students in with bite-sized moves. Encourage voluntary hand raising. Ask students to share opinions. Divide content into micro chunks. When it seems tough to stimulate effort, divide an activity or reading into manageable micro chunks. Engage and empower with physical responses. Understanding labels. Informally assess students' prior knowledge of terms in the upcoming units. Connect their labels with other labels. Using simple acronyms can bolster students' knowledge of labels in the content they're studying, which gives them confidence. Number 2, discovering properties. Have students organize their existing content labels. Have students analyze labels and group them in lists or graphic organizers. The grouping drives learners to ask themselves important questions like, why would this label go with this one? Developing context and meaning. Make it personal. Generate and test hypotheses. Teach vocabulary daily. Deepen the meaning with brief writing tasks. Establish meaning through metaphors. Build a model. Let students become experts. Number 4, getting it right. Provide a clear, compelling model of what accuracy looks like. Students should know exactly what accuracy looks like for each learning or assignment. Allow students to vote with their feet. Number 5, learning to transfer. Infuse questions with real-life detail. Create questions and assignments that drive students to stretch their learning into different contexts. Turn a simple math word problem into a finance issue. If you want to turn 10,000 into $1 million in 20 years, what rate of return on your money would you need to make that happen? Or how about a shopping issue? Is it a better deal to buy 3 for $10 and get 1 free, or buy 1 for $2.55? Get students moving. 2, energize students in their seats. 3, lower energy to increase focus. 4, influence energy levels with music. Most of us have music in our classrooms. The music can play strong influence on the student's body and behaviors. Different kinds of music have different effects. Music can ramp up, which also enhances focusing and memory. Music can mitigate the negative effects. Strategies that follow will get you started. Know how to choose the music. To activate high energy, music should have 80 to 120 beats per minute. Be familiar and memorable. Feature strong percussion or lead guitar. Conga by Gloria Estefan. To lower energy for focus, music should have 50 to 60 beats per minute. Be instrumental. Feature piano, bass guitar, or keyboards. Establish rituals. Maybe the most important item on the list. There are many different rituals in the book that as examples. Foster leadership, number 2, foster leadership and teamwork. Three, captivate with curriculum. An award-winning teacher who teaches social studies in a low-income Chicago school engages students by connecting history to their own lives and setting it in the context of a rich neighborhood around them. For inquiry-based historical research projects, she brought students to the Chicago History Museum to let them explore and identify personally resonant, meaningful topics. She gave them a choice in the medium of their final project. They could develop and communicate their learning through a website, exhibit a paper, a documentary, or a performance. She set the bar high and created an authentic goal. Students were required to present their research projects publicly to an audience of peers and judges at the school's history fair. The student-created websites and documentaries were available for anyone with internet access. Project-based learning. Embedded real-life professions and trades in the curriculum. Have students run a mini city. Integrate technology. Use technology to promote knowledge and skill acquisition. Use technology to demonstrate and share learning. Use technology to assess learning. Number 5, cultivate school-wide social support. Now what do we do? There are 4 actions for successful implementation. The first is to get organized. Ask yourself, how can you organize the strategies? How would you organize music into playlists? There's no single right way. We all do whatever makes sense to us. We all do what is best for our classrooms and what is best for our students. There are 4 big engagement domains. The first is effort. Are the students willing to do whatever it takes? Are the teachers willing to do whatever it takes? The next is attitude. This is the mindset. The next is behavior. And the fourth is cognitive capacity. Do they know the vocabulary? Do they have the skills needed to function? The second action is to engage students with differentiation. Instead of saying this is for this group, my ADHD kids, or this is only for K3, let's get rid of the labels. Let's get rid of perfection. Let's jump in and try something different. Trial and error is our friend. As long as we learn from our mistakes. The next time you want to try a new strategy or activity, ask yourself, how can this help our students? The third action
The third
is to know
action
what
is
to
to know what
expect.
to expect.
Know what to expect
Know
from
what
your
to expect
students.
from
If
your
you're
students.
starting new
If you're starting
initiatives
new
at the beginning of the
initiatives at the
school
beginning
year,
of the school
the
year,
students will
the
not be
students
aware
will
that you're
not be
trying
aware
something
that you're trying
different.
something
But
different.
if you make
But if you make
changes to the
changes to
teaching
the
or
teaching
engagement
or
strategies
engagement
during the school
strategies
year,
during the school
the
year,
students will
the students
probably
will
notice.
probably notice.
Don't get
Don't
frustrated,
get frustrated,
but keep at it.
but keep at it.
Know what to expect
Know
from
what
your
to expect from your
colleagues.
colleagues.
Some may be helpful and supportive, some may be skeptical, some may be critical.
Some may be critical.
Just know what to
Just know what
expect.
to expect.
Know what to expect
Know what
from
to
yourself
expect from
and
yourself
manage your
and manage your stress. Your stress.
Try to stay positive.
Try to stay positive.
Think about the 1
Think
week
about the
rule.
1 week rule.
Is what you're stressed
Is what you're
about
stressed
going
about
to matter in
going
1
to
week?
matter in 1 week?
If not,
If not,
let it go.
let it go.
When you know what to
When you
expect
know
and
what
how
to
to
expect and
respond,
how to respond,
discipline
discipline
problems
problems
and
and
student
detachment
will decrease.
decrease.
Students who are engaged
Students
in
who are
learning and
engaged in
growing in
learning and growing
capacity
in
are less
capacity
likely
are less
to behave
likely to behave
inappropriately.
inappropriately.
You'll come to
You'll
expect less
come to expect less
frustration and more
frustration
joy.
and more joy.
Action number 4 is to break down the breakdowns. We're not perfect.
We're not perfect.
We're going to make
We're going to make
mistakes.
mistakes.
Ongoing learning
Ongoing
helps us to
learning
become
helps us
great at
to
our
become
jobs
great at
and
our
a strong
jobs and is a strong
contributor
contributor
to
to your
your
students'
students'
success.
Eric emphasizes
Eric
in his
emphasizes in his
book
book
that teaching
that
students from
teaching students from
poverty will
poverty
expose
will
every
expose
single
every
weakness in our
single
teaching.
weakness in our teaching.
Students will challenge
Students will challenge our
expectations of what they're
expectations
able
of
to
what they're able
accomplish,
to accomplish,
especially if our teaching
especially if our
isn't
teaching
relevant
isn't
or
relevant
engaging.
or engaging.
Students will let us
Students will
know
let us know
through their behavior. He states that everything we get is from our students. The rolled eyes, the excitement, the state of apathy, the smiles, our feedback,
trick.
Now that you've gone through the whole book, I have the book on my Kindle, but you can also obviously get the book through Amazon. It's a good book. It has many more strategies than what I read about and what I pointed out, and it would probably be worth reading or at least skimming over whenever you have a chance. Thanks for listening, and have a great rest of the day.